What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to the Harbor.Church podcast. If you usually watch the video version of this podcast, I have some sad news. We hit some technical difficulties and will only have the audio available this week. But it's safe to assume that our guest John Petty looked really bad the whole time, and I looked as attractive as ever. So just imagine that in your mind as you listen. Thanks for tuning in. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Harbor.Church podcast. We're here for a little second helping.
Love it.
Digging back into the message as we do. I'm joined by the one and only of the third, you know?
I am the only third one of us.
The only third that I know.
Yes, but there's technically four of us.
That's so true. Mm-hmm. The fourth is the best.
He's the best.
The second is the next. I don't know the first.
All
to be
right.
fair, I don't know the first.
You were going to say the first is the third, and then I'm the last.
I can only assume, but
saying a lot of numbers.
No one knows who's talking about what. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah.
For those who don't know.
It's helpful for everyone.
Yeah, I don't think we have to go fully formal. You preached this weekend.
I did.
On campus of our pastor.
Different places.
Yes. Pastor Josh was in Mashpee. You were in Hyannis preaching essentially the same message. Yeah. Slightly different flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like chocolate. He's vanilla.
When you see John Petty, you think chocolate.
And you see Josh Adams, you say vanilla.
Yeah, it's a real white. To start us off.
We're doing great.
Yeah. And actually, mostly this is specifically to hurt the feelings of our pastor, which listeners will know that he really likes to emphasize how good of friends he and I are.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very quick to downplay that. He likes to say, "You're one of my best friends." And I say, "Yeah, I am one of your best friends." You know,
I'm one of your best friends.
I am totally one of your best friends. Mm-hmm. So I think it's only fair to highlight that, like, I think we are very good friends.
Yeah,
John,
I think so too.
People should know that.
I know.
I consider you a very good friend.
Likewise.
You're a person that I could call. And
I love that.
Me.
Yeah,
and
I'm glad.
For me, is a high tier of friendship.
100%.
And I hope you feel the same.
Yeah. No. Yeah. We're close. We've known each other for a long time.
Long time. Yeah, 100%. We were very good buddies. Yeah. In fact, I brought her to Cape Cod.
That's true.
Unintentionally. Really, the Lord did.
I feel like it was slightly intentional, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, it was definitely intentional, yes. But yeah. Anyway, that's mostly for and like he could be one of them.
And you do bring them on the podcast. It's just usually not when he's on the podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Gotcha. Exactly. That's how it works out. For anyone that didn't hear your version of the message, maybe only caught Pastor Josh's, do you find central either difference or major takeaway or highlight that you feel like I've home?
Yeah, I think when we were talking about what this was going to be, and we'd kind of, Pastor Josh had sent me like, hey, these are the points we're going to work through and some of the passages of scripture. We came through with a lot of very similar things, what I've been kind of working through in my life. The lifeguard thing, rules that I don't agree with that God is putting in my life, and more a lot of times like the circumstances of my life. That was more of my mind as I worked through a God who does business with me in ways I don't agree with, who sets up, actually none of this makes sense to me. And so that was kind of just where my focus was. But largely we preached mostly the same stuff, you know? Yeah, I would agree. Felt similar.
Yeah, I think the main points were there, absolutely. And yeah, for anyone who didn't catch it, we did kick a play on words there. You can take it however you see fit. But yeah, this first week was the idea of God as our lifeguard, which, as you did point out, eventually God knows a lot more than any 18-year-old lifeguard does. But I do think the imagery of it works really well, specifically someone who can have a perspective that we don't have.
Yeah, who sits above us, yeah.
Yes, sees the whole beach for, if we're going with that imagery and yeah, what you and Pastor Josh both hit on in slightly different ways, but the rules and the boundaries and, the buoys and all that stuff can feel like punishment for someone in them. What I liked about your take on it is that we have to be willing to get on board with in order to move forward with any of this is that God is God and we are not.
Yeah.
Right. And that is where we push up against those boundaries
100%.
Is thinking that we know better than him.
I'm really interested in reasoning. I think we struggle with it because for me, it's like I can reason my way out of this rule or this thing that God has sent. Like it doesn't make sense to me. And if it doesn't make sense to me, it can't make sense.
Right.
And I think that's really what it is. And humanly speaking, this is like, we struggle with this all over the place, this pride. You can talk to anybody for a long enough time where they're like, if it doesn't make sense to me, it actually doesn't make sense.
Right.
And to just accept from the jump, like, God knows things I don't. And when the Bible doesn't say like, God's way smarter than you. The Bible says God's thought thing like your thoughts. So what your thoughts are, a complete
Distinct,
180
separate, yes,
are God's, you know? So it's a tough thing to get to, because I almost have to accept in some sense, in my humanness, I may never actually really know or understand exactly what God is doing. And that sucks, because I really want to know.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and I loved that piece of it of looking at Proverbs 3:5, which, it means we do have to be willing to just not get it. Which is very hard as a human. But a little bit back to, we will get more to that, but the idea of boundary, where the message began, I do think, maybe specifically in New England, there is an idea of God and religion that is just a set of rules to make my life suck. You know, and like that is kind of what I grew up understanding. It was like, I grew up Catholic, and it was like, here's what you can do, here's what you can't do. It's mostly can'ts. And like, that is how God approaches you, as someone who's mostly mad all the time and telling you what not to do. And as we come to understand God and his character more, we realize those boundaries are for our safety. He has a better way of living for us. But to get a little more practical with it, like, can you think of a time, maybe in your own life, maybe someone you know, whatever, but an example of like a boundary that felt like punishment or felt negative and that you pushed against, and then came to realize that actually it was there to keep you safe?
Yeah. I think, well, I'll just speak on one that I think is pretty poignant in our society, especially for young people, but just generally people. I think when we read the Bible, like, we read about marriage and what it's supposed to be. And I understand, like, when I'm married, I shouldn't sleep with someone that's not my wife. But like, if I'm with someone and I'm committed to them, living together and the sleeping together, like, these two are two things that, like, culturally, they're not even like people. The only way you wouldn't agree with that is if you agree with God. There is no other like logical reason, culturally speaking, now in the time that we live, and growing up in the era that we have. I mean, I struggled with it, where I didn't really fully understand what the benefit was. And there's like, I'm sure, I think that I really struggled with this idea that I needed to withhold this from my life, because I didn't see any reason for it, you know? And later on, as I got married, and that relationship with my wife, even before we got married, as it started to grow and mature, and then once we got married, I realized that like God was trying to save me from sharing things about myself and of myself with other people that I wasn't able to share with my wife. There was like an intimacy and like a unity with my wife that could only be experienced had I done this the way that God had wanted me to. And it unfortunately was painful for me to learn it the way that I learned it. But I think that that is one specifically as a young man was really difficult for me to like, God, this just doesn't make any sense to me, you know? But I see, and I think that that's, you know, the story of becoming a more mature person, spiritually mature person. You start to see those things. God starts to reveal, hey, like you can kind of see in your life, it's better. But is an example of something where I don't know that there's a, like, I have a story to tie a bow on, like, well, this is exactly why God wouldn't want this to happen.
Right.
It was more just like, God was like, I had a better way for you to do this. And it would have been better had you done it this way. And you didn't, because you couldn't understand why I would put this in your life, you know?
Yeah, and that is a great example, I think, of that, the Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 that we were just talking about, because humanly speaking, it does make a lot more sense, 100%. Like logically, to do it the other way.
Why wouldn't we
live together? Yeah, test drive it. Don't you want to see if the chemistry's there? And obviously, like time and time again. And I think actually we had Eric Cabral in here not too long ago, someone who, you know, lived with the woman that's now his wife. Like they were together for a really long time, living together. And he's, why we even needed to get married at this point? We're already doing all the things.
Sure.
What's the difference? And if you ask either of them, and if you know them, I think you should. But like, was it worth it and did it matter? And they both agree, like, the nature of our relationship just changed completely to do things his way.
Right.
And there was something a little mystical is the wrong word, but like there was a supernatural, I think, piece to it that it doesn't make sense on paper.
No, of course. Because it is God's best way to do it. And I think that actually that's what makes, not to get too specific about this example, but that in that way, that's what makes marriage what it is, which is it is something ordained by God for his people. I step outside the bounds of what he has called that, then I don't get to experience the joy that he's created it to be. And it is 100% different. And you're right. Like it makes more sense for me to live with this person before I'm married. I may as well figure out if this is going to work. And in my own marriage, I can tell you that like, well, we have to make sure that we're compatible. We have to make sure there's chemistry. We want to make sure we can live together. It seems so silly after that. I'm like, well, none of this actually matters. Like, first of all, I love this person, but second of all, like, I had to bind my life to this person, so it doesn't matter.
We're gonna live together, and we're gonna make it work.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. And I do feel like we maybe overcomplicate a lot of that too. Like, I'm not married, but even just, I've also lived with your wife.
Wow, both of us.
Yeah, look at us. But even like with her, I don't know. There's a piece of it that even just doing things God's way, like you can figure out with anybody. Truly, I believe you can. You know, like if you are on the same team, if you've decided that we have unified goals here, we're going for the same thing. Like,
100%.
Yeah, that part's gonna is if the foundation is there. What about the flip side of it? Like I know, like you were just saying, the rules and the laws and the boundaries, and a lot more of the circumstances. Like God, why are you led into me? And I get that. I feel like all of 26 has felt like that for me, to be honest. 2026, to be clear. I'm not 26 years old. I was once. Not too far.
Yeah.
What do you do kind of practically, like when you are in a situation or a season where how many of what is going on could be good or could be like, why would you allow this? How could this be what is best for me? Like you say that you have my best in mind, but I do not at any point what's best. How do you fight the feeling that God has checked out?
Yeah. I think, I talked about this in the message. I don't know. I felt bad because I wanted to spend 25 minutes on it, but I do really think that we need to, as Christian people, get better at talking bad about God to God. But it's quippy so that you understand it, but really like that sometimes I don't like what God's doing, but like I know he's got, it's like sometimes I'm literally in my life going, God, I don't agree with this. And I actually don't see why it has to be this way. And I know that you could fix it and you haven't.
Yeah.
And I actually don't deserve this. I've followed you and I've done everything. And of course, like I understand in my humanness, like, I mean, I deserve like death for my sin.
Sure.
I understand that, but also
those
like,
feelings exist.
Yeah, God, I've served you faithfully. How could this happen to me? And for a long time, even as somebody who grew up in the church, like I felt weird about saying that to God. I felt weird about praying to God and being like, God, I really hate what you've done to my life right now. And I don't actually see how you don't see that I'm trusting you. And I felt weird about doing that, realized that like I would talk to my friends or my wife or other people and just be like, yeah, this really sucks and it doesn't make any sense. And like I'm literally like talking about God behind his back. Now, of course, he knows what I'm saying.
Right.
But it is more like this idea that God can carry this. Like he is big enough and strong enough to carry his like little ant child on the earth being like, this stinks, I don't like this. Like he's God and he loves me and he also understands me more than anybody else could. So it's not that God's surprised that I have these feelings, but I'm actually just trusting God to take care of them.
Yeah.
And really what it becomes is a spiritual act of me saying, God, I don't agree with this. I know in my head that I need to, but I don't agree with this. I don't like this. And God, I don't trust you right now. Help the ways, like help my unbelief, move my heart in a direction. But sometimes it's just the act of doing that and realizing like, this God that I'm railing against right now actually is the God that I'm leaning on. It's like, it's in that moment allowing myself to be dependent on God, even though I'm upset with him.
Yeah.
And be like, you can take this. I know you can take this. You can take when I'm sad. You can take when I'm mad at somebody else. And you certainly can take when I'm mad at you. So I'm going to bring it to you. I think that anybody that has children, and my son is young, but I think that anybody that has children would rather, if their child was really struggling with something that they had given them to do, that child coming to them and being like, this is how I feel. Like I'm dad, I can handle my 3-year-old being like, you stink. Like, I'm sure it hurts me, but like, I can handle it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we just think God can't handle it. Like, well, God can't hear that.
Right.
You know, and again, I mean, I said it in the sermon, but like, you read the book of Psalms, this is what David does over and over again. David's not like, I'm sad today, God. David's like, God, you've forsaken me. You've left me alone. Yes. I am dying.
How long are you going to abandon me
100%. 100%. There's a psalm, I forget which one it is, but David's like, I've drenched my bed in tears. Yes. Like, he's so emotional and so like, this is the hardest thing in the world. But then David turns it around, and this is what God gives us the opportunity to do when we bring that to him. To be like, but I know this about you, God. I know you are trustworthy. I know you are close to the brokenhearted. I know that you've promised to walk with me through everything in my life. I know you have good plans for me. Like, you can remind yourself what you know about God. And then really just be like, God, I actually don't believe this, but I need you to help me believe it.
Yes.
And he does.
Yeah. It's hard. It's interesting. I don't know if you'll relate to this. You might be more in touch with your feelings than I am. But it's actually something I've really been working through and struggling with recently. And I didn't even realize I was doing it until I was having a conversation with a friend. And I was like talking about my feelings about something. And it's a situation that I'm not at the center of, but I'm still affected by. Sure. And I think most of us have those kind of situations. Yeah. And I was just like, everything. I was like, oh, I'm mad about this. I'm sad about this, whatever. But I know it's not about me. And like, I kept saying that. She was like, hey, do you notice that anytime you express any kind of feeling, you have to caveat it with how you should or shouldn't be feeling? And I realized I do that with God. Yeah. All the time in prayer, where I'm like, all right, Lord, I'm angry at this, or I'm angry at you, or this hurts me, or I don't understand this, or whatever. But I know this is how I should feel. Yeah. And I kind of just shut myself off there, which is, in theory, not that big of a deal, except I realize that is me. I'm not being fully honest with God. Right. Maybe ever. If I don't just let the truth hang there and be honest, but like, yeah, maybe I know in my head this is how I should feel, but God, I'm not there. Yeah, and I need your help to get there, because 100%. Clearly I cannot do it on my own. It is something that has changed the way that when I struggle with a boundary or with a circumstance of my life that doesn't make sense to me, that I don't agree that God is doing, it has helped me get back to the place where I'm trusting that God is God. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Why it's difficult is that you and I want to do this exact same thing when I'm praying to God, is I want to caveat it because I'm spiritually mature. And so I want to caveat it with like, but I know this God, and I'm like dressing myself up before the creator of the universe. Right. As like if he's fooled. Yeah, like he knows me. He's not fooled by the fact that I'm like, but I've quoted a verse in my prayer, so I know. Like, God's like, no, I see you, man. Yeah. I know what you're going through. And so wouldn't it be better if I went before God, who knows me more than anybody knows me, and is like, dude, I'm not having a good time. Yeah. Here is every bit of my emotion and my feeling about it. And instead of me taking that emotion and hiding it from you and letting it play out and explode in other areas of my life, I'm going to let it all out here before you. And I'm going to let you deal with it because I trust you and you love me and I know that you love me. And in that, it's improved my relationship with God. It's improved my relationship with him, where I'm like, there is nothing that is off limits. It is so weird that I would ever think that I could pull one over on God, but we act like that all the time, and I do. So it's like, you gotta just give it all to him because he can take it. Yeah, and it's been honestly like a tough pill to swallow for me. Like when I dig down deep and really examine that, for me, this may not be the case for everybody, but for me, it is pride ultimately, where I need the people around me, and I even need God to know that I do actually know the right thing here. You know, like, I need you to understand that I understand.
Yeah.
Like, I can get outside of my own emotions and look at them objectively, and I know that they're wrong because I'm mature and good and right. And God's like, shut up.
Yes.
Lovingly. Like,
because even what you were saying about, like, that's what you're, like, when you say, well, it's not about me. Well, yeah, sure, it's not about you. Like, you understand that. I'm smart enough to know that. But this is what's happening.
Right.
So my emotion is this.
Yes.
No matter what. So it's got to go somewhere.
Right.
And I may as well just let that out to God, who already knows it's happening.
Yes, and can actually handle
instead
it.
of being so spiritually mature before God that I'm like, I've actually outgrown the need to talk to you like this, God.
Yeah.
Because I'm smarter now.
Yeah, I already get it. I'm already where you're at with it, God. Like, me and you were on the same page, to be clear. And it sounds ridiculous to say out loud.
Of course.
But, like, for me, that's kind of what's happening in my heart. Not consciously, but, like, when I get down to the root of it, I'm like, oh, I have a problem here, it turns out.
Yes.
In terms of, I do feel like learning to trust that God is God and we are not was kind of the crux of your whole message.
Yeah.
And the crux of this whole idea of a lifeguard. What do you think are some signs in your life? Green flags, I guess, the opposite of red flags. Some positive signs that, like, even when life sucks, you are trusting God in a way that maybe you hadn't in the past. What does that look like? Yeah,
I wish, as we talk, maybe I'll give you some more really hardcore practical. But for me, it's peace. That's what it is. Like, it is peace. And I say that because there have been times in my life where I have been sure in my humanness of a situation and been like, this is going to be okay. And my spirit is, like, in unrest. Like, I don't feel all right. And again, I can't trust my emotion for everything, but even as I shared on Sunday about, like, I've walked through some things that don't feel very good for me. I never, in that time, as emotionally tumultuous as it felt, I was never, like, in unrest. I always felt peace. Like, I always felt like, okay, I'm, and it was that act of telling God how I feel, being honest with God, being open about what was happening and how I felt, and just keep, like, I'm going to keep moving forward, God. And that peace helped me just kind of continue to move forward no matter how it felt. And I know that, like, it feels like I'm saying two different things, like it can feel bad and also feel peaceful. But it is like I say this all the time, like, I often know that I need to make changes in my life when God removes the grace from my life. And what I mean by grace is, my father always says, when God removes his hand of grace from you, it makes the easy things difficult and the difficult things impossible. All of a sudden, situations of my life that I was able to, like, feel good in and control and that made sense to me, all of a sudden they start to not. Like, all of a sudden I'm in, like, areas where I'm like, I feel an unrest about where I am. And that oftentimes is an indicator that, like, God has removed his hand from that situation and you need to make sure you're moving with him. And I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how it usually plays out for me. Is I feel a peace that surpasses understanding that we read about in the Bible. Yeah. Like, I know objectively, and even my emotional state would tell you, like, this is terrible, and yet I feel peace to move forward. And so, like, all right, I'll keep moving forward, God. Yeah. You know, and that helps me know that I'm close to him too. You know.
Yeah, and I would say is what people in your life do. Like, that is some outward evidence of you should be freaking out right now. You know, like, and people do see that. I don't know that a lot of people have ever noticed much about my faith in easy times.
Oh yeah.
You know, but when stuff sucks, for some reason, not losing your mind, that's when they're like, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
You have something different going on than I would, and what's that about?
And that actually is part of what we were talking about before. Like, that's the beauty of saying them, because I'm not letting that emotional, like, energy and that emotional release play out any other place in my life. So if I don't go to God and say, God, I don't like this situation, and I'm in turmoil about it, then when I go to work, when I'm at school, when I'm around my friends, they can just feel it off me.
Yeah.
Every room affect the temperature of it. They're like, John's going through something. And I really struggled as a very emotional person. I have struggled with because my emotional response tends to be pretty high.
Yeah.
So like I would walk into areas and I'm like, I can't even hide what's happening inside me. And it wasn't until I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna like me. So here you go, God. Here are all my cares. And they feel real big to me. And they also feel kind of mean to you, God, but I'm going to just release them to you. And then all of a sudden it's like, I said it on Sunday to the congregation, like I'm saying these things about how I'm going to say them right now and I feel okay because I've already said them to God. Right. I've already done the work here.
Yes.
So now when I go about my day, when I go to school, when I, have dinner with my family, I'm not pouring out that emotion. I've already poured it out and enough and strong enough and powerful enough to take it. And that the rest of my life can be marked by that he promises me. I still don't feel good about the situation.
Sure.
I still don't really know where it's going to end. It still doesn't make me, but I've poured that big emotional response out to him, not to anybody else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Really good. That actually reminds me, I don't know if you've seen Pastor Ron do it, but he's got a bit of an illustration he does where like our emotions fill up a big, like a 5-gallon bucket.
Yep.
And if you do not have release valves, it's going to come out the top eventually. And the biggest one is obviously God. For him in his illustration, he also includes the fact that we need like good godly counsel in our lives that we can also spill some of that 100%. Over to and have a conversation with someone that it's not going to ruin their life for us to let some of those emotions go. Kind of the order was different, but the second chunk of the message that I really loved was this whole idea of drifting. That the lifeguard does not blow the whistle when you're already drowning.
Yes.
It would in fact be too late and very unhelpful while you're swallowing seawater. Yeah. For the lifeguard to be like, hey, you're drowning.
Hey, just say no.
Hey, heads up. But the whistle gets blown as you're heading toward whatever the danger might be. And you talked about that's kind of how the Holy Spirit works in our lives and conviction. Because drifting is a very vague, intentionally vague term, because it can look like a lot of different things.
Sure.
What does it look like for you generally in your daily life to like what causes that drift for you or has in the past?
It is, I think when I was working through what that means in my life, I had the illustration of my pastor and me floating in a canoe and drifting away. It wasn't like we ever closed our eyes, but I certainly wasn't ever looking where we were going. And I think quite frankly, that drifting comes, when I think of drifting, I don't really think of like sin. I mostly think of like laziness, which the Bible calls a sin. Like there's a slothfulness that we shouldn't have. Yeah. I think it's just a complete unintentional, like I'm unintentional about how I'm living my life. And I just let life happen to me. And I know that seems silly. And I think some people maybe get tricked. I know I get tricked because I'm never not busy as an adult.
Sure. There's always stuff happening.
Yeah. I always have things to do. I'm married. I'm a dad. I have a job. I have other responsibilities. Like I have things going on, but I can still do all those things and very much just drift because I'm just not paying attention to where I'm going. And that doesn't mean you got to sit down, every 6 months and be like, what's my 5-year plan? Sure. It just means that like, I'm thinking about the decisions I make today and how they affect my day tomorrow and my decisions I make this week for my life and how they're going to affect, my life, that I'm intentionally thinking about where I'm going. And there's I think we just get tricked. Like I'm busy and I have things to do. And so therefore I couldn't drift. I have to be intentional about how I live my life. And I just don't think that's the case. And when it comes to our relationship with God, it's significantly easier because I can come to church and I can even be part of a connect group. I could serve a little bit and I could just be around church and understand the language enough and be a part of it enough to just like do this and yet I'm drifting further and further away from God. And again, when I think of drifting, I don't think of sin. I actually just think of, this is what we talked about, like it really is just vulnerability. So it isn't necessarily like I'm drifting because of my sin. I'm drifting to a place where I'm vulnerable to sin.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I'm drifting to a place where I'm vulnerable to the enemy's attacks. So if I'm not careful, I'm going to end up in a place where like what wouldn't have drowned me before is certainly going to drown me now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you find yourself saying yes to things that you wouldn't have. Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I've had multiple conversations this week with people about, and like we've talked about this on the podcast. I think everybody talks about this in their everyday lives, but like the phones and the social media and the busyness, it all exists. And it can, like you said, it can trick us into feeling purposeful. Yeah. But it's not the same thing. No. And like it feels so silly to say out loud, but like for not the first time, I had to this week delete stupid games off my phone. And like they are not sinful in and of themselves, you know, like I know that. Yes. But I also know that any spare moment that I had, I was just filling with that.
A little game, yeah.
It's not hurting anybody. In theory, it's not hurting me. It's just like, oh, I got 5 minutes to kill. Nothing particular to do with it. Right. And it just turns into more time, and it turns into me thinking that what it means to rest is to turn my brain off, which is an unhealthy pattern to form. And it turns into, all right, I'm like, you know, I could pray, but I got a little extra time. I'll play some games on my phone. You know, like it's just a stupid time filler. And I know for other people, it's other things. Sure. But we all have them. Right. For a lot of people, it's scrolling on Instagram, whatever it is. And I've had to before, and I'm sure we'll have to again, draw a really hard line where I was like, it's getting to the point where I'm kind of sick of myself. Yeah. You know, like I am embarrassed to be alone with me because I just know that I am wasting what is very limited time on this earth with a stupid freaking game on my phone. Yeah. And like, it's not like I'm necessarily always replacing it with like, every time I would do that, I'm going to pray. Sometimes, Sometimes I'm also just picking up a book. Yeah. And it's not even a spiritual book. Yeah. It's just like, I'm using my brain instead of letting it dilapidate. Yeah. Dilapidate? Dilapidate. It feels wrong. One of them. Either way. Rot. Let's say rot. Later, yeah, fact check. Chris, you're on the fact check.
I've thought about this a lot more now that I have a child. And actually, the biggest way is that I think a struggle for fathers generally is being intentional with how we spend time with our kids and being around and available in the home. And I remember thinking before I had kids, very stupidly, that it would just be like, oh, it will make so much sense. Like it will be so easy to prioritize this because he will be my top priority. And the truth is I love my son more than any other person besides my wife on this planet. Of course I do. And I think he's a very important part of my life. I would say to you, he is the most important part of my life. But also, like, I started to find myself in situations where I'm like, well, it actually isn't as cut and dry and easy as I thought that it would be. And I see this play out, and I've seen this play out for other men where it becomes this, like, I'm not intentional about it, and I kind of let life happen, and now I'm not around as much, and now I don't really know as much about what's going on at home, and now it's kind of harder for me to be at home. I have to be even more intentional to be at home because I don't know the rules. I don't know whether she keeps the diapers. I don't know where like this happens, what time we do this, and right. So and I start to drift to be further and further away, and then the unfortunate part of that is you can wake up in 10 years and you're like, my kid doesn't respect me. My kid doesn't care for my attention. He doesn't want to be around me. And you're like, how did I get here? And you got there because you just weren't intentional about it. And we trick ourselves into believing we're just going to prioritize the things that are right because we know they're right. I know my relationship with God is the most important relationship that I have. Of course,
no question.
Do I always prioritize it? Of course I don't. Right. Because I'm human and I'm dumb. And so I need to be reminded constantly in my life, like stay alert. And so the Bible says, like, I got to just make sure that I'm staying intentional because the longer I stay out and the further I drift away, the further it takes for me to get back, and the harder it is for me to get back.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, me and my pastor in the canoe, like I don't actually even know where we are anymore.
Yeah.
Like
Can't
we're
even
in,
see the shore.
Don't even know where rescue is.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it feels so insurmountable that you're like, well, I might as well just give up.
May as well just keep drifting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is where I think church and connect groups and serving become what they're meant to be, which are not boxes to check, but like built in intentionality where like I know that I'm going to be able to at least have checkpoints in my life where it is easier to prioritize God.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be around other people that are doing it, and I'm going to hear a message, and I'm going to sing worship songs, and I'm going to throw it in my own face basically as often as I can to help protect from drifting. And that's kind of how God designed all of these things in community. And
almost itself. As if he is smarter than us, Katie.
It's like he had a plan. Can you imagine?
Crazy.
Yeah. What do you think is one, like if I'm listening to this and I feel that I have begun to drift, or maybe I've been drifting for a while, or maybe I'm just scared of drifting and I don't want to get there. Like, what is a small, like, micro habit you think that, like, you could start tomorrow or tonight that can at least help to close that gap?
Yeah. Don't listen to any secular music and listen to worship music.
Right on.
It's a thing I could say because I'm the worship director, but it's also the thing I'll say because I believe.
Yeah.
I've done this in my own life, which actually is really sad sometimes because I really like music. I love music, man. And I like listening to a lot of different kinds of music, and I still do occasionally, but I know it's a really easy way for me to start to, I think we just really underestimate, even when we're talking about with the phone, like we just underestimate the kind of inputs that we put into our life because we're like, well, it's not a big deal that like I'm listening to whatever it is. And the truth is it's like, is it a huge deal? No, but also it is one area of my life that I can mark out for Christ and say, okay, this is going to be about him. And then that input, like every time I do it, I'm putting in an input that's positive. And this can be like, this could be podcasts, this could be sermons, this could be things like that. And I'm using those examples because they're largely passive. Like I can just listen, obviously the good answers are like, I make sure I spend time in my word and I make sure I pray and I do all these things. But one easy change that you can make is that like, and even if it's just on my way to work, the only thing I'm going to listen to is worship music or a sermon.
Yeah.
Like that is something that's going to now change. It's going to be an input that's positive, and it's going to be an area of your life that you've marked out for Christ. And so I think people underestimate, I know I do, with how sensitive that will make you in the rest of your day with God, for God and like what he's doing, that you'll start to really sense his presence in other parts of your life. I really think it genuinely changes. And then something that we talked about that I also totally understand and you just hit on is you just really need to make sure that you are around Christian people who are, I don't even want to say like willing to challenge you. I don't even necessarily know that you need to be around people that are constantly convicting you as much as like, if you feel like you're drifting or you're worried about drifting, and you know someone who is a solid believer, just like try to be around that person.
Yeah, just hang out with them. Yeah.
Like because they have the Holy Spirit in them and you have the Holy Spirit in you. And if God is doing something, working in a way, then the chances of you being in a space where you can both kind of follow God together is greater. It's like why marriage is such a beautiful thing. And for me is such a comfort in my life where I know like if me and my wife are together on this, then I can trust that God is a part of it because he's certainly not going to tell us different things. And so being around other godly people can kind of be that, just like a bit of a heat check for where you're at, because and also like, I gotta be honest with you, like if I'm drifting or if I've drifted, it's like kind of hard for me to be around Christian people.
Yeah,
I'm like,
because you feel like you gotta fake it.
Yes, and so like they gotta be real people for sure, but also like it just ends up being why it's really hard to be drifted away, if someone's close to the Lord. Like, I don't want to be around that person. So,
Right.
you know, if I'm worried about drifting or I have and I want to get back, that's a good way to do it because it encourages you to do it. And it works on the flip side. Those people at some point, they'll drift away too because they're human like you are. And then you'll be that other person. And also go serve someone, go do something for someone else. We make a lot of life about ourselves.
Ain't that the truth?
And so like, just do something for somebody else, like literally anything.
Yeah, anything at all.
They don't even have to be a Christian. It doesn't even have to be for the church. Amazing.
Yeah, imagine.
Just do something for somebody else.
Yes. Yeah, that's really good. I will add for an end of the day thing because I have a friend that like, you know, we just call each other once a week and kind of check in on like where you at with God and or your life and like what sucks for you right now and what about you sucks right now.
Yeah.
And it's often a lot of things. But we were talking about, you know, the phone thing and like just how we distract ourselves and we're like there's so much time that is just spent on nothing at all. You know, the stuff that just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And even we're bored doing it.
Yeah, I know.
You know, like
true. It's like I can feel my brain melting while it happens.
Like, I don't even enjoy this. Why am I doing this? Yeah. But we were talking about the end of our days and like she's a mom of young kids and I am not. We have very different lives, but like I think we all find a way. You know, I worked hard today or I spent all day with these kids or whatever. And like I deserve at the end of the day to just check out.
Yeah.
And like that's such a dangerous state of mind that I find myself in all the time. And I think becomes a slippery slope for addiction even and things like that where I'm like, oh, I deserve this.
Yeah.
Whatever. So what her and I were talking about and what I'll just throw out there for our listeners if anybody needs it, but like not even necessarily changing what you do at the end of the day. Like for like I'll throw on a TV show or whatever. I've been watching through Survivor actually. There's 50 seasons.
It'll never end.
I'll never be done, which is
you'll be watching Survivor for the rest of your life.
Which is the best part for me because I don't have to think about. I don't have to scroll like, oh, what do I want to watch? I got 50 seasons, baby. It's ready. Jeff Ropes is there.
He's always there for you.
Regardless, so like I'm probably not gonna stop watching Survivor, but before I get to that part of the night where I'm just hanging out and relaxing, because I don't think it's wrong to watch TV. Before I get there, can I build in 5 minutes to just stop and actually reflect on my day and think about where did God show up today? Like, because I miss it so often in the busyness, or if you've got little kids or whatever, like you're just doing stuff all the time at work and if your family and your friends or whatever, and it's all flying by me. And God's been present all the time and giving, you know, the Bible tells us every good thing comes from God. Yeah. And I'm just speeding by him. And maybe if before I turn off my brain or go to bed or whatever, I can stop and actually just look back and think, all right, where was God today? Maybe if I do that at the end of the day, I might be a little bit better tomorrow at noticing it when it happens and actually inviting God into all of those moments instead of just forgetting that he is in fact there all the time.
It's really good.
I haven't really started doing it yet. We just talked about it. So like, I'm not saying this from a place of I've nailed it, but it's just something we were both like, I think this would have a really positive effect on my relationship with God and just who I am as a person and as a Christian, learning to recognize God's hand at work in days that seem really great and in days that feel like they were really crappy.
Right.
He was certainly present.
Yeah.
And blessing me throughout the day. So maybe I could just take a couple minutes to intentionally acknowledge those things and then go watch Survivor. Yeah. But then from a different perspective.
Gratitude, then Survivor.
Yeah, that's the order of things.
That also, is the equation.
Shout out anybody that needs 50 seasons of something.
You've just broken someone free. There with
recommend Survivor more highly. It's a rich societal experiment, really.
It's true.
It's what it is.
It's true. And it's very real.
Very real. Yes, it's 100% real.
Yeah, nothing about it is fake.
No production going on there. Nope. All right, John. Well, thank you for coming out. Thanks for preaching this weekend. It's always a pleasure to hear from you.
Love it.
I was talking to you and your dad about this weekend, but for whatever reason, when you preach specifically,
it makes you a little sad.
I get feelings about
That's
it.
True.
I get a little teary-eyed.
I don't know why.
Which is not usually my style.
I make Katie cry. No one knows why.
I don't either, and I don't like it. And I feel bad about it because I'm often sitting in the front row, and then you got to look at me crying, and that can't be helpful.
I know.
when you're trying to
And
preach.
I get a little weepy too.
Yeah, and then everybody's crying at everybody, and like nobody's learning about Jesus. So sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right. We'll weep together some other time.
Yeah, other times, just not while you're preaching. But it was an excellent message, and it was great to get to hear from you. And if you missed it, it's going to go up on YouTube. By the time you hear this, it probably already is, to be honest. So go check it out.
Yeah.
Pastor Josh's and John's messages will both be there.
Awesome.
Slightly different, both lovely. And we'll catch you next week.
Yeah. See
Thanks
you.
for listening.